My project is part of a broader project looking at the trophodynamics, or the food web, of the whole marine ecosystem in the Great Australian Bight and the associated Gulf. By monitoring the whole array of predators within the ecosystem, like the penguins and the seals and other seabirds, we can get a better idea of the health of the ecosystem. Burrow 120.
120.
Yep. Just see your time. And we have bird with the tag number 1290, 243. Most of these burrows have got birds with microchips in them, and this is a way of determining who's in the burrow. And each time I come back to the island, I check each burrow to see which adult's there and if they're the same, if they're still together, or if they're in the same burrow as they were last time. And this contraption here is a microchip reader, an automatic microchip reader, which allows me to determine the number of the tag without having to pick the bird up. So it reduces the stress on the bird greatly, particularly when you're doing it frequently, maybe once in the day and then again at night and maybe the following day. So this little chick comes from burrow 16. When I come back to these burrows, I generally weigh the chicks each time, and that way I get a growth curve of, or essentially how quickly they're growing, see if they're healthy. Yeah, this relates really to how well the parents have been feeding them, and I guess to how much food is available out there. It's also important to see if there's just one chick, like this little one, or more often than not there's actually two, which means the parents have been successful and have had plenty of food out there to feed their chicks. I got interested in biology, and in particular marine biology, a long time ago. I think it started when I was about 12, and I got the opportunity to go snorkeling for the first time in a really large rock pool not very far from here, and I was really taken by all the fish and all the colours underwater, and it was an amazing world. So I went to Queensland for quite a few years and studied marine biology and worked on the Great Barrier Reef up there for a while. It was fantastic. I learned a huge amount, but I was quite interested to come and experience the temperate waters essentially, so I came down here and got involved with this project, which has taught me a lot about cold water ecosystems. And yeah, I've learned a lot about the different animals and plants that live in the ecosystem, and oh, it's been terrific. I'm really, really lucky. Yeah, I love being here at Trubridge. Being in the field is my favourite part of my project. It makes it all completely worth it, and you get a real sense of your project by being with the animals that you're studying and the ecosystem and their environment that they're living in. So yeah, it's great getting out in the elements with the sea and all the noises around you and the smells and so many different animals, all the birds, and every time you come back there's little different things that happen, and yeah, you always notice different things and the same things, and you can really notice patterns at Trubridge each time you come and through the years. So it's really great. Even when there's big storms and it's cold and wet, it's part of the experience. We should be expecting the penguins to be coming in from the sea any moment soon. You can actually hear the duck-like contact call out on the water there, and the penguins tend to do this to communicate with each other These little contact calls are also for the penguins on land. Some of the penguins on land also respond with the same contact call. Yeah, sounds like a duck. Thank you. We take measurements of the bill because it's a way of determining the sex of the penguin. Unfortunately for birds, you can't just lift their tail like you can in a lot of other animals. So we measure the bill depth and the bill length, and that usually gives us an indication of whether it's a male or female. The females usually have a smaller bill, and the males also have more of a hook at the end. We weigh the penguins as well. It's an indication of the health of the animal or the condition of the animal. And we tend to weigh them at night just after they've come in from the ocean with a belly full of food. And we also weigh them during the day or after they've digested their food or even fed their chicks, so we get a weight of birds that have a full belly and weights of birds that it's their true weight without the belly full of food.
Okay. Yep.
After we've collected samples of penguin regurgitates in the field, we bring them back here to the lab so we can sort through them to determine what they've been feeding on. There are a couple of ways we do this. We can look at some of the hard parts that are in the regurgitates, the fish hard parts, which include fish bones, fish eyes and fish ear bones. These are called otoliths, and they tend to digest at a slower rate than the rest of the fish. So we can often pull these fish ear bones out and look at their shape. Each species of fish has a different or uniquely shaped otolith, so we can determine the species. We can also measure these otoliths to determine how big each fish was that the penguins fed on. And from this we can work out how much fish they fed on during that day. The main species I've found they've been feeding on are anchovies and sardines, but they do feed on a whole host of other fish species. I've also unfortunately found a bit of plastic in some of the regurgitates, which suggests that they're feeding on pollution as well. This study has helped collect a lot of baseline data that we can use in the future and continue to monitor. So if there is a fishery collapse, we'll have a fairly immediate idea of how the penguins are faring. The satellite transmitters allow us to determine where the penguins have been fishing during the day. To get this information, we have to download it from a satellite. So when I'm in the field, I have to contact somebody back in Adelaide to download the information and work out whether each penguin's going to be coming home that evening, so I can catch it and take the transmitter off and put it on another bird. From the satellite tracking work that we've done, we've been able to find out how far away penguins go from their colonies to fish. Different islands seem to have different behaviour patterns of foraging. Some colonies are showing that the penguins are only going 10 to 15 kilometres away, and others are showing that they're travelling up to 100 kilometres away from their island. Penguins that are only travelling 10 to 15 kilometres away tend to only go away for the day. However, the penguins that are travelling much further, such as 70, 80, 90 kilometres away, tend to go away for much longer periods. Sometimes this can be up to a couple of weeks, which is a long time for a chick to be not fed. This is a weighbridge system that I've got set up on Trubridge. It essentially consists of two parts. There's
This aerial, which is a microchip reader, an automatic tag reader, which reads the microchips that are in the penguins as they come ashore and walk past it. And behind it we've got a set of scales that they walk over, and we get weights from the penguins. This was their natural pathway, and I've narrowed it by adding wire so that they are funneled through this small section here. And then in the morning when they go back out to sea, they pass in the other direction and get weighed again. And the difference between the night weight and the morning weight should correlate with the amount of food that's been fed to the chicks that night back in the nest. Oh, today we did pretty well. It's probably about 30% had adults in it during the day, which is pretty good, and about, there's more eggs than last time.
I've been doing my PhD now for 2.5 years, and it's drawing to an end. So the next 6 months will be analysing all the data and collating what I've collected. We now have a much better understanding of the role of little penguins in the environment, because before we knew very little about them in South Australia. Because we now know a lot more about little penguins in the environment, if there is a slide in their health or their ecology, it should give us an early indication of what's happening in the marine ecosystem, which we might need to address. I really miss Trubridge and the penguins and the colony, just being in the colony, and also all the other wildlife that exists there.